Right, what have I got today? It's the Klarus, which is a pretty decent make. I recently did the, if I can find it, the little Klarus here, the, let's have a look, what's this one called? The MI1C. And I was quite impressed with that, although I consider it, because of the lens, almost specialist in its application. This one may be the same, but look, tiny, but 130 lumens. So it's the Klarus Mini One, 130 lumens. And not only that, even though it's tiny, it's got built-in USB charging and IPX8. Now, I just want to make mention of that, because generally when you get a flashlight that has built-in charging, it increases the size, but this is tiny. So well done to Klarus there. Not only that, it's 130, which in this key sort of chain size class is excellent. Glad to see that. I think it is using the XP-G3 LED, so it should be pumping out pretty well. So let's look at some of the specs. 130 lumens maximum. It only has 2 settings, but we'll go through them. Max beam distance, you can take them with a pinch of salt. I just generally ignore them. Max running time 5.2 hours. That's going to be on the lowest setting, and the rest's been covered by the sticker from the seller, so that's great. Bright rechargeable keychain light. So let's get in and have a look. And I'll go through some of the specs. So the Klarus Mini One, XP-G3 LED, 130 lumens, so nice to see. Now, this is going to be using one of these tiny little 10180 batteries. So let's see what we get first. So put that to one side. That is tiny. So let's see what we get first. So you've got that standard USB, and then that is a micro USB connector. You can tell because of the shape. So it's a micro USB, so that comes with it. Let's put that to one side. Look at the size of that battery. Now that is tiny. So as a size comparison, let's try it with, let's have a look in here, in the Astrolux here. So there's a AAA. Look at the size difference. Absolutely tiny. Now that's good and bad. So it's good and bad as in it takes up very little space, but it's bad as in obviously you're going to suffer capacity wise, so runtime is going to be low. So it's all very well saying, oh, 130 lumens, right, but at 130 lumens it's not going to run as long as that, is it? Because look, physically it's smaller. So we'll pop that back. So there's good and bad. You know, by making stuff smaller, it's all very well, but the capacity of the batteries suffers. So yes, you can get 5 hours, but that's going to be on the lowest setting, which is something daft like 8 lumens. So you're not going to get much out of that. So let's have a look what else you get. There's just a couple of O-rings. What's this? Okay, so Klarus have done a good job there. You get a spare O-ring. Now the O-ring is just a rubber ring which goes around 2 machined parts, which ensures that water can't get in up to the rating. So, but we'll go over that. And in fact, there's 2 O-rings. One's hidden in there. So you've got 2 O-rings and a split link for a keychain, which is nice. So let's get that to one side. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so that is tiny, absolutely tiny. I quite like the knurling that they use on Klarus. Let's go for the last one that I looked at. It's almost like a pineapple grenade design. Actually, it feels better than something like that, which just is, you know, it gives you some grip, but it's not brilliant. Whereas I find a more open pattern does genuinely give you more grip, especially if you be wearing gloves or something like that. So I like to see that on here. Now you've got a top part here that's movable, lovely, and then a bottom part. I presume this is where the battery goes. And nice to see. Excellent. So a decent sized lanyard hole, or in this case, split link hole. Decent size. So well done, Klarus, because I'm sick and tired of. You know, that's a decent size, but on some of them they're absolutely tiny. Just as an example, here's the S2 baton from OLED. Look at the size of that. It's like threading a pin. It's just absolutely impossible. So, you know, nice to see that. And it's a flat bottom, so it can stand up. Excellent. I like to see that. Another added feature. So let's see. Yeah, so you turn that to get back in, and then there's one of the O-rings there. So that's the rubber there, which prevents the water entry if necessary. And let's look at the machining. The machining seems okay. Seems pretty smooth, very, very smooth in and out. It's not greased, but it doesn't really need to be. And if they're not greasing it and still giving it an IPX8 rating, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, plenty machined well. that looks dirt free, nice to see. Yeah, doing a decent job. Looks okay, pretty light. Now let's have a look in here. That spring looks a bit offset. I'm just gonna, I can't get my finger in to check, but I would say that looks like a little bit of a cheap spring and then just a piece of plastic over the bottom. So it looks a bit cheap inside there, but that's not to say that the other internals are cheap, because they won't be, because it's got built-in charging. So I presume to charge it, you turn anti-clockwise. Yeah, anti-clockwise, and then that reveals, that'll be a charging LED there, which turns red when it's charging and green when it's done. And there's your entry point for the current. So micro USB, so let's just check that that actually fits, because some of these manufacturers you can't even get the charging cable in. So let's have a look. Yeah, absolutely fine, fits flush. So you would charge like that, then when it's done, this little light here is going to change. So let's get that turned back up. And then to change modes on this, it's a rotary action. So there is no tail clicker or side clicker. So to save space, it's a rotary action. It's probably one of the best ways. Although on some, I have a TI3 from ThruNet, which that's the only thing I can say I don't like, is the rotary action. What happens is you need to loosen it to make sure it's turned off. If you loosen it too much, the whole thing falls to bits and the battery comes out. But Klarus, well done, look. It cannot come off. So you're not going to lose the battery because it's in the bottom. So again, Klarus, another intelligent design there. Well done, nice to see. So let's get that turned back on there, and then let's pop the battery in. So this is a tiny 10180. I wouldn't even want to guess the capacity. It's going to be pretty low. It's probably about 200 milliamp hours or something. It's not going to be big. So pop that in there, and then let's put that on. So let's see if it's already turning on. It cannot wait. Let's get that done. Okay, that's tight. Okay, so let's go over some of the specs before I go on examining this. So put that to one side. So it's that time of day again, time to get out the notepad. So what I want to discuss is this lens type. So generally what happens is there's your PCB and there's an LED, and then that outputs light. Okay, and it goes in this direction. Now, what generally happens is with a flashlight is you want to direct that beam. You don't want to waste it going all over the shop. So what happens is, in a traditional setup, you would have, here's obviously a battery, and then your PCB and the LED. You fit what's called a reflector. Now what a reflector does is it literally just reflects the light and forces it in one direction. So on a traditional reflector, which is smooth, this is what happens. So I'll do a close-up here. So there's your light emitting diode. Most of the light from the LED is doing that. And then you also have it bouncing around, bing bong, like a pinball machine going in all directions, but creating what you call spill. So generally if you fire a flashlight, so this is an example, even though this has an orange peel reflector, it still stands true. So I'll show you what I mean here. So the light's coming out, and then can you see these two regions? This region is the directed light from the LED coming directly out, and then this section here is the spill. So I'll go back over that. So if you fire this at a wall, you get, there's your profile, your beam profile. So you have the direct light there, which is your spot, and then this region is spill. Now what generally happens is you have two distinct zones. So at high output, it's quite annoying. I can't see. You see the way it's obscuring detail there, whereas it's fine here. So you can either turn the flashlight down or use a different type of reflector. Now, orange peel reflector can, in some ways, negate this by, if I show you an orange peel reflector, it has an aberrated surface, as in it has pits and troughs, so you're getting the same style of beam profile, but it evens out the spill, so it evens it out somewhat. Now what if you knew that your light was only going to be used for close-up stuff, so you wanted to get rid of this? Well, that's where a TIR optic comes from. So I'm going to turn that off to show you. So let's go to another page. So a TIR optic gets rid of the traditional reflector bowl. So as you can see, it has a specific surface. Now most people see that surface and think, well, it's just a diffuser. Well, not really. I'll explain what's happening, because people tend to get this wrong. So there's your PCB and your LED. Now in this case, it uses a TIR optic. So this is a very crude drawing to show you what's happening here. Okay, let's pretend that's a TIR optic. Now this isn't empty space, this is a solid piece of plastic. So what happens is the light enters at this section here, and then no matter where that light goes, doesn't matter what angle, it all comes out the front in a uniform manner. So there's the top of the optic there. So TIR just stands for total internal refraction. Now, in other words, all light is being transferred through this medium, not through air or bouncing off a surface. It's transferred all through this piece of plastic. So if you design this properly, you get an excellent diffuse light. So pop that to one side and I'll show you what I mean. So I've just given you an example there. So you can see the difference. You see you've got two distinct zones there, okay? So that's a traditional reflector. You're literally reflecting the light through air and then through a piece of glass. Okay, so let's pop that down. Now this is a TIR optic, so I'm going to turn this on low. Now watch the difference. See how the whole thing is diffused. There is a bit of a region which is brighter, but that's by design. But there's really no, even when you get to there is no, you couldn't say, well, I'll get a pen and I'll draw around the spot and the spill. It can't be done. Even on higher settings, if we go to high there, so there's high, you can, there's a bit of a spot there, but as soon as you get to there, nothing, gone. Whereas with this, you're still going to have the spot no matter the height until you come way, way, way away. So a TIR optic gives you a great spread. Now, why? You're probably thinking, well, okay, what's best? It depends what you're doing. If you want more throw, you're going to have to go for a traditional reflector, because you want to throw the light. If you want all of your light to be diffuse in front of you with no irritating sort of hot spots, a TIR optic is actually an excellent design. But I caution you, you couldn't have that on all flashlights. It has a specific purpose. Also, it saves space. So instead of having to have, a bowl which takes up that amount of space, look at the difference. You've literally got a tiny little region, tiny, and it's good at what it does. So let's go over some of these specs and then I'll take you through the modes. So your first mode is low. Now it gives you 8 lumens. I would have preferred that to be lower, but it's not lower because it's a TIR and it's spreading that light out. So you need it high, otherwise you're hardly going to see anything. It's a waste of time having like a sub lumen setting like 0.5. So fair enough. Okay, Klarus, I understand why you've done that. That's fine. You can get more stuff done. And as I've explained before, the whole purpose of a sub lumen or this level of lumen is it doesn't ruin night vision. As in, you get that in your face. Oh no, I've lost my night vision for 10 minutes. For me, I've tested it myself. It's generally about 20 minutes to get back to perfect night vision. So that's what that purpose is for. And it also saves battery. You're getting 5 hours, 12 minutes there stating. That's at a best case scenario with a full battery. Okay, fair enough. 5 hours is great. I wouldn't want to go walking with that. I'd want it on the high setting. So high setting, twist again. And that is 130 lumens. But look, that's beautiful diffuse light there. Look, it's lighting up everything. Lovely. I've got no complaints with that. I really like that reflector. Generally, I stay away from TIRs, except for like specialist TIRs, which that's technically a TIR on the S2 baton. It's just a way of redirecting light without having to use a big bowl. But I think they've done an excellent job here. I really like this. So you're going to get 24 minutes on high. If you've got that in your keys, that's going to get you home, I would hazard a guess, unless you're out in the Rockies or something. So generally, I wouldn't want that on my keys. I'd prefer something like this, where you're getting a much better run time You're still getting 130 lumens, and yeah, you're getting the spot, but if you're going for a walk, it's not an issue because you're going to be away from the ground. So I've got no problems with, I would carry something bigger and you've got more capacity. 24 minutes, that's cutting it fine. So I would maybe take that as a backup. But if you don't have a keychain torch, and because you don't like the size, get one of these. That seems pretty good. So it's got built-in USB charging, even though it hasn't made it any bigger. It's pretty lightweight. IPX8. So IPX8 means you can drop that in up to 2 meters of water and it should still function, no problem, as long as that's tightened and the O-ring's fine, and that's obviously cinched down. So other than that, that's absolutely fine. Great, good design. It's got a 1.5 meter drop rating, so drop that on something like concrete from 1.5 meters, it should be fine, regardless of the angle. There's enough of a lip there to protect this lens, but this lens is plastic, so it'll take a bash anyway, and it's a pretty good design, so you know, I can't imagine that breaking pretty easy. So TIR optics, it uses a 10-180 battery. Nice Cree putting at 130 lumens. I'll show you some beam shots in a minute, but I have tested another one because for some reason I got sent 3 of these things. So what I may do is I may do a giveaway when I get 100 subscribers, and I'll give a couple of them away. But we'll see what's going on. But marks out of 10 for this. I'd like to preface my mark by saying I wouldn't carry this, but the reason I wouldn't carry this is because I don't think 24 minutes is enough time. If you get stuck out somewhere, you probably want a bit more than that, and plus you're not necessarily going to be fully charged all the time, and 24 minutes is only a best case scenario. But I can see having this around the house or in the car, perfect. But it's not as big as the smaller one that they do. I mean, look at the light that you're going to get from that, you know, much better. Now that uses a lens, but it depends what you want at the end of the day. If you want the smallest thing possible, get this. If you want something a bit bigger, probably get something like the TI3 from ThruNite, or the Jet Beam's a great one, or even the Astrolux is pretty cheap. It's a bit more bulky, a bit heavier, a bit more chunky, but still does the same job. And they're all pretty decent. Or if you're like me and you don't mind weight, I don't mind weight of things. I'm currently EDCing this because I'm really impressed, which is the M3 from on the road. Really like that torch. Great design. It's a side clicker, which can be a bit annoying in some applications, but 2 O-rings, free cable, you can charge it. You don't need a charger, and to be honest, good luck finding a charger that would take these. I've tried them in a couple of my chargers and the cell's too small to even reach the contacts, so you're going to have to use USB charging anyway. So good design, well done. Price wise, yeah, bear in mind it's got built-in charging. I think it's pretty decent. So I'll give you some beam shots, but my marks out of 10 for this, I'm going to give this, let's have a think. I'm going to give this 8.5. No, 8. I'll give it 8 because I wish the battery was give you more capacity, or add another setting. That would be my advice. If you could add 3 settings, that would be great. Maybe have a rotary on off where it flicks through modes. That's the only way you could do it. But well done, Klarus. 8 out of 10. Fantastic. Feels good. I like it. Decent price, decent output, and I really like the TIR optic. It just works. Simple as that. So enough of me waffling on. 8 out of 10. I'm going to show you some beam shots.